Thank you very much, Rabbi Kaplan. And we are actually today commemorating the Holocaust of the Yazidis. We started 2 years ago, 2014, and the representatives of the Yazidis are also here, Mirza Ismail and his wife. And this evening, I would like also to dedicate to the precious and dear memory of a good friend of us all in Israel, Solomon Ben Zimra, who I didn't get used, yes, to the fact that he is not here. He was one of the activists for Israel legal rights and published books, articles, papers, and whatever needed, and unfortunately passed away when he came back from Israel on an airplane. תהי נשמתו צרורה בצרור החיים, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope I didn't forget anyone who took part in this evening. If I did, I apologize. And we are actually facing, I would even say, a new phase in the world's history. Because what we face today in the Middle East is something from different kind of what we were used, even, yes, I would even say, the world wars. Because the two world wars were about domination, and the extermination of Jews was also part of how to clean the world from those Jews as those people wanted. But the considerations which led the people who were behind, and of course Doris Epstein, my good friend, considerations which pushed forward those who perpetrated those crimes against humanity were worldly considerations. Things which were connected to life here. What we face now is something totally different. When Allah becomes the major player in the equation, when religion starts to be part of war, this is something which I won't remember. War which are motivated by religion solely. Of course, we had our war of independence of Jews who fought for the life and for the land and for the state. But land and state are worldly things. But what we face today is something totally different because Allah became today part of the war. And I would say even the engine behind the motivation of this organization, or this whatever it is, and we'll ask what it is, the Islamic State. And this is something which, in my view, the world is not familiar with. A war, when the divinity is sitting in a tank or in an armored vehicle carrier, this is something, or shoots at you, of course, by people who are motivated by religion, mainly by religion. This is something which the world has not yet prepared itself to, with laws, and we'll talk about this later. This is why I think we should start to think, I would say yes, out of the box, out of the regular box of how wars should be conducted, what are the means which wars are used in wars, and so forth, and we talk about this later. But first of all, let's see what we are talking about. What is this Islamic State? Islamic State is something, and we'll define what it is, organization or something else, which was established originally in 2004, means like 12 years ago, after the invasion to Iraq. The United States and its friends and allies invaded Iraq in order to find weapons of total destruction or mass destruction. Whether they had or not is a different question. Intelligence organizations do not know they had. They smuggled to Syria like 4 days before the war in Iraq. But as a result of this war, the regime in Iraq collapsed, and the attempts to rebuild Iraq as a functioning state are still there. Means Iraq is not yet reconstructed after the war, which started in 2003, mainly because people know how to destroy, but very small number of people know how to build states, especially from scratch, after a society and regime are crashed. However, the problem, which came out in 2004, started even earlier. In 2001, the September 11 events here in the United States of America caused, as a result, the war against Al-Qaeda, which was in Afghanistan those days. And Afghanistan actually became a hub for Al-Qaeda, and Al-Qaeda had in this state hundreds of facilities, bases, prisons. After the September 11 terror attack on the United States, the United States went on a crusade, as the President George W. Bush said in those days, in order to destroy Al-Qaeda totally. And actually that's what they did. And within 2 weeks since the war erupted in December 2001, Afghanistan was occupied totally. And all those terrorists of Al-Qaeda were either killed or caught and brought to Guantanamo Bay. Yes, if you can put your cell phones on silent, I appreciate it. So either they were killed or they were captured and brought to Guantanamo Bay or dispersed to other countries, ran away to other countries. Many of them ran away. And in one way or another found themselves in other parts of the world, especially places where lawlessness was the name of the game. Like Sinai, parts of Africa, the Sahara, Nigeria, places where the police doesn't enforce law and order, and Iraq as well. Not immediately, but after Saddam was crashed, some of them ran away to Iraq. And they established in every one of the places which they came to, I would say, like franchise of Al-Qaeda. Instead of being Al-Qaeda in one place in Afghanistan, they opened branches in many countries, wherever those jihadists of Al-Qaeda came, and they continued the jihad against the local authorities or against the West as they could, according to the situation in every area. Some of them, as I said, went to Iraq. And when the regime was toppled in 2003, they established the Al-Qaeda of the Mesopotamia, as I say, the Al-Rafidain means the Al-Qaeda of Iraq. This organization was established by Abu Mus'ab al-Zarqawi, a Jordanian Bedouin guy, who is known for beheading in front of the camera of a journalist named Daniel Pearl, Jewish journalist to American journalist. And this is how he behaved. And later he was killed, and another one succeeded him, and another one succeeded another one, but always America, the United States, and others were after them in order to kill them, because they actually were those who were against the insurgency, the Sunni insurgency in Iraq, against the Americans and against the government, which was led by the Shia, the majority of the people in Iraq. Number 5 of the leaders of this organization, Al-Qaeda, is a guy who spent a while in American jail, but nobody suspected that he would be too dangerous. He was released, and he became the leader of Al-Qaeda in Iraq. It was 2010. And he started raising questions to Al-Qaeda, to his organization. Guys, you conduct a very good jihad against the West. You succeeded to hit America, you succeeded here and there, but what is the end game? What is the tachlis, as we say in Yiddish? What is the goal? What are you striving for? And they didn't give him an answer. Jihad only to topple the West? This is not a positive goal. What is your positive goal? And since he didn't get the answer from them, from Bin Laden, who was still alive, and Zawahiri, his deputy, he decided that he will give the answer. And the answer is a state which will implement the Sharia on every piece of land which he can put his hand on. And he declared the establishing of the Islamic State of Iraq, ISI, Islamic State of Iraq. This state was established in the northwest part of Iraq, in a place which is like a desert. Almost nobody lives there, but he went there with his people, mainly soldiers, Sunni soldiers and officers from the Iraqi army, who were not particularly religious, but found him as the only one who can give a good fight, successful fight against the government. And this was actually what magnetized them into this organization. Again, not because they were super religious, but because this Al-Qaeda, which turned into the Islamic State of Iraq, was an organization which succeeded to fight successfully and efficiently against the government by all kinds of terror attacks, by booby cars, by bombs which were implanted here and there, and this is how they work. Then, in 2011, March, the Arab Spring, which was still flourishing and blooming in those days, as people hoped and believed, arrived Syria. It started in December 2010 in Tunisia, spread to Egypt in January 2011, then Libya, Yemen, Bahrain, and then came Syria in March 2011. And of course, in Syria under Assad, you are not allowed to demonstrate against the regime, only for the regime, because this is a dictatorship. So the regime started to shoot into demonstrations. Everyone who is getting killed is a funeral the next day. So funerals became demonstrations, so they shoot into the demonstrations. So there were further funerals who turned into demonstrations. And they shot into those demonstrations as well. So more funerals, okay? So it became a chain of funerals which bore more funerals, and this is how the state, Syria, actually deteriorated into the bloodshed which we see today. Those days, Syrian soldiers started to refuse to shoot into demonstrations because some of them were actually soldiers from those places where the demonstrations were. And you cannot expect a soldier to shoot into demonstrations where his relatives are in the street demonstrating against the regime. And the regime started to be afraid that this phenomenon of refusal to shoot into demonstrations will be wider. And this will actually bring the demise of the army. So they approached their friends, the Iranians, to send snipers to shoot at the demonstrations. So they sent some dozens of them, and some of them were caught by the people. So the people took them in front of a camera, and they spoke in Persian and told in Persian what they were sent to do to the Syrian people. And this made very bad name to Iran, who sent snipers to Syria to kill Syrian citizens. So Iran took them out, all those snipers, and they asked Iraq and Lebanon, means Hezbollah, to send snipers to take care of those demonstrations, because if they are caught, at least they will speak Arabic and not Persian, and not cause such an embarrassment to the Iranians. So surely the Iraqis, who are anyway governed or controlled by the Iranians, sent snipers, and the Lebanese as well, the Hezbollah. And some of them also were caught by the people, and they were put in front of a camera, and they said what they were sent to do. And in Arabic, there is a big difference between the Syrian dialect and the Iraqi dialect. So the minute they opened their mouth, everyone who speaks Arabic understood that these are Iraqis, because you can hear it. And also the Hezbollah, the Lebanese dialect, is not that far, but definitely you can hear if this is a Lebanese guy or Syrian guy, because the dialects are there. So also these snipers were found and were exposed. So this is what happened. However, when those clips of the Iranians in the beginning, and then the Iraqis and the Lebanese were telling what they were sent to do in Iraq, and in Syria, who watched it? The guy in Iraq, the head of the Islamic State of Iraq, because this was on the internet. And he's sitting there, and I'm talking about more or less August, September of 2011, and he tears his hair. What? All those then Iranians, means Shia, and Iraqis, Shia, and Hezbollah, again Shia, are coming to Syria with a majority of Sunnah in order to what? In order to kill our brethren, our Sunni brethren, who can allow it. And he decided that he cannot sit doing nothing, and he started to send snipers in order to take care of those snipers on the roofs, which were sent by first Iran, Iraq, and Lebanon. Okay, so it began to be a war between snipers who came from Shiite countries like Iran, Iraq, and Lebanon against Sunni snipers who came from the Islamic State and from the Syrian population. The situation deteriorated to more and more violence, and the turning point started to be when not only snipers were sent, but also experts on explosives who started to blow sideway bombs and cars, and the violence became more and more. And all those experts were actually sent by the Islamic State of Iraq, ISI, by that guy who named himself later Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, and later we say Al-Qibla. So along 2012 and 13, this organization started to send more and more combatants, and in addition, it invited volunteers from all over the world to come and to fight this Syrian regime who killed the Sunnis in Syria. Sunni countries supported it. Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, Emirates, by money, weapons, means of communications, usually ciphered walkie-talkies, weapons, ammunition, training, everything which people need. And the struggle over Syria became, with the time, along 2012 and 13, became a struggle between states. Those states which were behind the regime, namely Iran, Iraq, and Hezbollah, which controls Lebanon, and the Sunni side is the people with the backing of Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Emirates, and many others. And this is actually what happens, that Syria became a battlefield of states rather than organizations and individuals. Towards 2014, that guy, the head of ISI, understood that if he does not delve into the problem with big power, the people might lose. So he decided to actually broaden his state also to Syria, because with the war, Syria became less and less functional. So now he can flourish also in Syria, in Syrian soil, especially in the eastern parts of Syria, which are close to Iraq. In 2014, he decided that he's not anymore Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, and in Iraq, ISI. Now he wants to be the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. And this is actually what made the initial ISIS. Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. But it's not ISIS. The S in this is the Sham. Because the Sham is the greater Syria, which includes also Lebanon, Jordan, and the land of Israel. So, but by the way, he used this term, the Sham, because he didn't want to use the term Syria. Why? Syria is the modern term, which was a state which was established by the colonialism, by the French. He doesn't recognize the legitimacy of this state because the colonialism did not have any permission to establish those states. And this is why he uses the terms which were used to describe the Greater Syria, the Sham, in the 7th century. And this is very important because this is actually what is his mind. To revive the 7th century, where Islam succeeded to topple the most powerful two empires of those days, the Christian Byzantine, the center was in Constantinople, means Istanbul of today, and the other one was the Persian, Zoroastrian one, whose capital was in Ctesiphon, to the north from Baghdad of today. And actually, this is the idea. The Islamic State of Iraq and Syria was not only about territory, to occupy the territory of Iraq and Syria. It is about to spread Islam on every inch which will be liberated from the infidels, the Arabs, who control Syria, and they are not Muslims. So when we see what happened with the Islamic State, already in 2014, this was the map. I would say more or less May or June 2014. This is the area in Iraq of the ISI, formerly, and this is the area in Syria. This was the border between Syria and Iraq. And this is the area in Syria which they occupy within less than a month, in June 2014. This is a desert. The population is very scarce over there. And their tactics was very unique. They didn't have big units, but they had pickup cars. On every one there is a machine gun, heavy machine gun, And they were running, in very, very high speed from place to place. And whenever they came to a village or a stronghold of the Iraqi or the Syrian army, they were much more powerful than the local people in that village or that little town or the stronghold of the armies. So they used their superiority, the local superiority, in order to crash all these places, to occupy them like a blitzkrieg, as we knew from the 1939, and this is how they succeeded to occupy the area which is marked by red in this, which was like quarter of Syria and like fifth of Iraq. The important place which they succeeded then to occupy was the city of Mosul, which is here. This city was very important because this city actually sits on a very big oil field, and Mosul actually is a city of petrochemical industries. This is the second city in Iraq, the size and number of citizens, and the capital of the Iraqi economy. The number of people who lived in Mosul estimated by 4 million people, Mosul and its outskirts. In order to occupy such a city in an urban warfare, it means that you have to fight something between 2 years and 4 years in urban warfare, because the enemy is behind every door, in every cellar, in every attic, in every room, and it's very hard to fight such an enemy because you don't see him. He can appear in every inch. Sometimes the distance between you and the enemy is a distance of your hand. So, in one day, some days you go forward, some days you retreat. Okay, so it takes a very long time to fight an urban warfare on such a city of 4 million people. That's mean it's a big city. And they succeeded to occupy this city within more or less 1 single day. How come? How come? They used what we call psychological warfare. Psychological warfare means that you frighten your enemy to a degree that he runs away. Now, how did they frighten the enemies? Very simple. They published clips in the internet. What kind of clips? I'll show you part of one of them, and I will not show the hard parts. Don't be afraid. Okay? Let us see what kind of clips they produced on those days. Now, this movie was taken by 6 cameras, high-resolution cameras, not the camera of a cell phone, and not the camera which you buy for $200 in the duty-free in the airport. These are real cameras which cost good money. All of them were on tripods, not held by hand, and they used in the editing of this movie the state-of-the-art programs, and they use all kinds of methods of videography, like fast motion, slow motion, zoom in, zoom out, freezing of the picture, you will see it, and of course all kinds of sound effects, which in order to increase the effect of the movie. In the movie you can see 2 groups of people. One is those who wear dark clothes. These are officers and pilots who who belong to the Syrian regime, while those who are in the uniform are the combatants of the Islamic State. And it says in English again, Nusayri officers and pilots. Nusayri means Alawis, means belong to the sect of Assad, in the hands of the Khilafah. Khilafah means the state of the caliphate, which is led by the caliph. And we will talk about this a bit later. Slow motion. This is Jihadi John, the well-known guy from Britain, who later was killed. This man is a German convert to Islam. I think he was born with the name Helmut. Converted to Islam, went all the way to be the most radical Muslim, went to the state, to the Islamic State, and became a jihadist, and is one of them. As of now, the knife starts to be the star of the movie. Small motion, fast motion. This one is Yemenite. Now, who identifies the uniform? The uniform is the uniform of the American Marines. And the gear is the state of the art. Why? They succeeded to occupy two equipment bases of the Iraqi army, of two divisions. And everything they looted. Everything means from tanks to kitchen utensils, from cannons to ciphered communication devices. Everything which a division needs, they have, totally new, and the best quality of what the Americans gave to the Iraqis. They got two bases like this.
على الكفر نبغي القصاص يساقون للموت فمن مناص ونسقي الهدى من دماء الوريد ونسقي الهدى من
To Obama, the dog of Rome.
This is in English. To Obama, the dog of Rome. What Rome has to do here? Rome, you know, the capital of Italy. Western Christianity. After they succeeded to occupy Constantinople, which was the center of the Eastern churches, now they are after the Western churches. History didn't finish. Okay? The Catholic churches are the next in line.
Today, we're slaughtering the soldiers of Bashar,
Okay? Today we are slaughtering the soldiers of Bashar.
and tomorrow we'll be slaughtering your soldiers. And with Allah's permission, we will break this final and last crusade.
And with Allah's permission, we'll break the spine of the last crusade. What does it mean? Which crusade? What crusade? Very easy. In their view, in their writings, in their preachings, the last crusade is something which started more or less 200 years ago. Made by the invasion of France to Egypt, which was in 1798, and the establishing of the states means fragmentation of the Islamic world from being one ummah to like 60 states, which the West actually fragmented the Islamic world in order to conquer it, in order to make those Islamic nations weak, divided, and by establishing governments which do not follow the Sharia, by controlling the Islamic world with the international law, or through all kinds of agreements about oil, by sending all kinds of new media or media to the Islamic world, like newspapers, books, radio stations, television stations, color TV, satellite TV, recently internet, and the cell phones, which all these things disseminate the filth of the West, especially pornography, and this is all made in order to undermine our values, our culture, and this is actually a device which is meant to corrupt our 16-year-old girls by giving them the autonomy to speak with whoever they like, wherever they like, about whatever they like, and this is all a scheme of the West in order to dominate us, and in order to break our culture, in order to destroy our tradition, our values, and everything. And everything in the West is designed against us. This is why this is the last crusade. The 200 more years since 1798, and everything which the West is doing is in order to destroy Islam. And we are now on our way to break the spine of the last crusade.
And the Islamic State will soon, like your puppet David Cameron said, will begin to slaughter your people on your streets.
Malaysia. Look at this. He holds him in the collar. Domination. Okay? Bismillah, in the name of Allah. And I don't show further. You don't want to see. Now this clip was uploaded not on YouTube, because YouTube reduces the resolution in order to have the file lighter. They uploaded to another website, a leak source, which does not reduce the resolution. So you can see everything very clear. And as of now, everything is very, very close to what happens. The end of this movie, it's like 2 minutes from now, all those soldiers, officers and pilots of the Syrians end up with their heads on their stomachs. Means being beheaded. The Islamic State, those days, Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, produced such clips, estimated number, hundreds of those. Better quality, lower quality, but they were all clear, without any censorship. So those soldiers and officers and policemen of the Iraqi state, which were guarding Mosul on those days, when they saw what these people are doing, they ran away. Who wants to be slaughtered? Take also in account the fact that Mosul is a city with a population of Sunnah, while those soldiers of the Iraqi army were Shia. And no Shia wants to be slaughtered in order to save Sunnah. Okay, so so this way, by psychological warfare, which turned to be very, very effective. Instead of fighting 4 years on Mosul, they didn't fight for a whole day. And the city fell almost without any shot in their hands. So, definitely, this one. Now, what is the idea? They actually took this idea to frighten their enemy to a degree that they ran away. Actually from the Quran. In the Quran there is a verse which says, وَأَعِدُّ لَهُمْ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ مِنْ قُوَّةٍ وَرِبَاطِ الْخَيْلِ لِتُرْهِبُوا بِهَا عَدُوَّكُمْ. By the way, who didn't understand this? And prepare against them, means against the infidels, whatever you can from power and bound horses in order to strike terror into the hearts of your enemies and the enemies of Allah. Means they actually follow word by word what the Quran orders to prepare whatever you can in order to strike terror into the hearts of the enemies. So if such a clip strikes terror into the hearts of the officers of the Iraqi army, this is how they implement the Quran or the order of the Quran literally. Okay? And actually this is what pushes them. They take the Quran and they read it literally. And they implement word by word what is it in the Quran without using any commentary. Because in their view, commentary is actually some kind of reduction of the orders of what appears in the Quran. So they actually follow, in their view, the orders which were given to the Muslims, either by Allah through the Quran, or by Muhammad through the Hadith, means the oral tradition, and they actually claim that they follow the orders of Allah and Muhammad as they were without any change. Means they claim that they are the original Islam, original Muslims. And their way of conduct by slaughtering people is actually what Allah orders them, either through Muhammad or not only this, they actually, on the soil, on the parts of Syria and Iraq, which they succeeded to occupy, they actually did what Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi decided, established a state. It's not an organization, but a state. Let's see. Why do I claim that this is a state? This is an ambulance. Al-Dawla al-Islamiyya al-Sahih means the Islamic State, the health, Ministry of Health. These are passports which they issue. I'm not sure that they can enter Canada with this passport, but this is what they give the people. Now, look at this. This part is actually the flag. This part of the passport. The text is regular text, which is the Shahada, the testimony in Islam, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, means no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. In the text, they are no different than the Saudi flag, which also quotes the same idea, because this is the first or the most important obligation in Islam. However, what should be noted here is not the text itself, but the font which they use, the style of the letter. Because this style is not the style of today. This is the style of the 7th century. Wall writings and others which are found from that time are actually used this kind of font, okay, style of letters. This is La ilaha illallah, no God but Allah, and this is Muhammad Rasulullah from toe to top, okay, from below up. Why? They cannot write Muhammad Rasulullah because this way Muhammad will be above and Allah will be under him. So they write it from below up. So Muhammad Rasul Allah means Allah is above and Muhammad is under. Okay? So this is, now they claim that this round is actually a ring which was found in the Arab Peninsula somewhere, and this they think there was the ring with which Muhammad sealed his letters. Okay? What is the problem? if you want to sing with the text has to be a mirror image. And this is positive. But this is a technical question which they don't answer. In addition to passports, which is here, they also produce a little bag for other documents, like a credit card. And here it says Al-Khilaf al-Islami, means the Islamic Caliphate. And this is actually what they call the country, the Islamic Caliphate, not a kingdom, because there is a verse in the Quran which says that in al-mulk illa lillah, means the kingdom belongs only to Allah. So how can a man who was born and will die one day claim that he is a king? If kingdom belongs only to Allah, according to the Quran, how can a human being present himself as a king? This is something totally unacceptable. So this is why the kings of Saudi Arabia and Jordan and Bahrain and Morocco are actually in a position of rebellion against Allah. Because if you claim that you are a king, you actually take the epithet of Allah. So this is why they call themselves Khilaf. And their leader is a caliph. They actually went back to the system which was in the 7th century after Muhammad. This is more or less the hierarchy. Recently they changed it a little bit, but what we see here, the Khalifa means the caliph. This Majlis al-Ummah means the council of the Ummah, of the nation, These are Mu'awinu al-Tafwid, means the helpers or the aides of the Khalifa, means the ministers. Here we say Amir al-Jihad. Amir al-Jihad, the commander of the Jihad. In modern state, it will be the Minister of Defense. But they employ the term from the 7th century. Amir al-Jihad is the commander of the Jihad. This is the Minister of Domestic Security. And this is Khazan Bait al-Mal. Literally, the man who is in charge of the storage of the money. How do you call him in modern? Minister of Finance. But since the ancient 7th century term was Khazan Bait al-Mal, the one who is in charge of the storage of the house of money, so they employ the positions of the 7th century. Why? Because again, they want to take Islam back to the 7th century, where they succeeded to topple all the other nations around them. And there are many others. These are already organizations in many countries in the world which pledged allegiance, support, for the Islamic State. In the Palestinian Authority, they mean people in Gaza, the Salafis in Gaza. They are in Egypt, especially in Sinai, Tunisia, Algeria, the Sahara, means Chad, Libya, Mali, Sudan, Nigeria, Boko Haram became part of the Islamic State. Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Chechnya, Philippines, Malaysia, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. So already they have branches of organizations which most of them were established 10 years earlier as Al-Qaeda, like Boko Haram, and after they saw the Islamic State, which is much more successful, much more effective, and actually succeeded to establish a state, they changed their affiliation from Al-Qaeda. So they have already colonies in other countries. And these are organizations. You can add to them individuals who are in many other countries who identify or sympathize with this state. This is a list of volunteers which came to the Islamic State from all over the world. And here we see 3 columns. The Arab means the Arab volunteers on the right one, the foreigner means not from the Arab world, are in the middle, and the left one we'll see later. The Arabs, and this list was published more than a year ago. From Tunisia, 3,000 volunteers came. Today there are more. Saudi Arabia, 2,500. Jordan, 15. Maghreb means Morocco. Lebanon, Libya, Egypt, Algeria, Yemen, Palestine, 100. Now, Palestine means not only the Palestinian Authority, but also Israel, because they don't recognize Israel. Israel is not mentioned. Yes, some Arabs from Israel, Muslims, went to the Islamic State, and some of them actually got killed with the years. However, they cannot return to Israel, and we'll get to this issue later, because whenever Israel finds out that somebody is there, by all kinds of means, his citizenship is cancelled, and he cannot anymore enter the state of Israel. We actually recommend for him to find a better place. Sudan, 96, Kuwait, Somalia, Qatar, Bahrain, and the Emirates. The center column is the Ajami, means the foreigners. France, 1,300. Today there are more, maybe 2,000. Britain, 500. Russia, Turkey. Australia, Almania, means Germany. Holland, Kazakhstan, Albania, America, 130, means United States. Spain, Denmark, Sweden, Canada, 70. 70, here. Bosnia means Bosnia, Namsa means Austria, Italy, and Norway. Even Norway contributed. And these are numbers from more than a year ago. So could be that now these numbers are even higher. The last column is the more interesting, are the ladies. The ladies. Britain, 34, Belgium, 10, Sweden, France, America, 5, Germany, Australia, Finland, Russia, Canada, 1 single girl. But this was more than a year ago, maybe today, another one, I don't know. South Africa, Malaysia, and Austria. Now, what are the girls doing there? 2 things. One, they are, or maybe 3 things. They prepare all kinds of things for the jihadists. They knit, let's say, belts, explosive belts. They cook, and they, whatever they need. Second thing, they are part of the police which takes care of the women, because men are not allowed to do anything with women, so women are actually enforce law and order on the women in the Islamic State. The third thing is something different, which the Syrian regime actually published some things which they found. I'll show you something like this. This is a chart which says, in Arabic, the chart of the wedding of the brothers, the Mujahideen, with the sisters, the Mujahidat. Means the brothers who fight in jihad and the sisters who fight in jihad. Now what does this chart say? This is the column of Anisa, this is the column of Asma, and this is the column of Bushra. It says that Abu Umar is with Anisa between 8 and 10. Abu Khalid with Anisa between 12 and 4. Abu Ali with Anisa between 6 and 10. Abu Umar with Asma between 12 and 4. Okay, you get the idea? This is what they do then. Now this is okay because it nikah means wedding for 4 hours or 2 hours. And this is allowed in Islam. Okay? This is the third mission of these girls. And they have found some of them, all kinds of charts like this, and they published it. Okay? But if we go back to this list, so this Islamic State has volunteers. These are envelopes which say, the Dawla Islamiyya means the Islamic State, that the Islamic State is keen to give you your rights, which Allah gave you, from the money of the rich ones. Means Social Security. They take money from the rich and put them in these envelopes and then disseminate the money to the poor people. Okay? Social Security, I would say. They issue also license plates. This, and this, of course this. This is somewhat interesting. This accessories shop. Now it says here in this sign, if you are an orphan and you don't have any money, take what you need without paying anything. Now this is based on the Islamic Sharia, which was already formulated in the 7th century, because there were many orphans because of the wars. So what will the orphans eat? So the Sharia said that an orphan can go to the marketplace to take, from here we'll take an apple, from here we'll take a cucumber, from there we'll take a carrot, and he eats as much as he wants. And if the merchants have damages because of this, they can raise the price for those who can pay. Okay, so the marketplace actually is the place where the people who can pay support the orphans who cannot pay. Okay, it's an effective mechanism. Why not? So it's also now implemented when it comes even to success stories for the girls' politics. These are the districts of the Islamic State, which is divided just to manage the country. Nineveh, Damascus, Homs, Halab, Raqqa, Khair, all these kinds of places. Al-Anbar, Diyali, Salafi. This is a map of the districts, and amazingly they are including also the Janub, means the southern part of Iraq, which they do not control yet. But, as the Quran says, Inna Allah ma'a sabirin. Allah is with those who have patience. This is a coin, golden coin, which they issue. On the upper part it says Al-Dawla al-Islamiyya, the Islamic State, 21 karat, 5 dinar, 21 and a quarter gram. They write how much it weighs so nobody will scratch it. But the most important is the lower part, Khilafa ala minhaj al-nubuwa, means caliphate on the minhag, on the style of the nevuah, prophecy. Means we are actually, in our ways of conduct, in the way how we run the state, we actually walk on the footsteps of Muhammad himself, because we emulate the minhag, the style of the prophecy of Muhammad. We, not the others, not the Saudi Arabia, not the other countries, we are the real those who walk on the footsteps of Muhammad. This is one side of this coin, and the other side is this. This is 5 dinar. This is 1436, last year in the Hijri counting, and all the rest is geography. All the rest is geography. It's not history. Okay? The whole world. Okay? And now, look at this very carefully. The whole world without any border. Why? Because Allah created the world without any border. The infidels came and cut the world to states, to nations, which are fighting each other non-stop, and this is the cause of all evil in the whole world. We came here in order to make the world one world, as Allah created the world, to implement the Sharia all over the world, in order to make peace, Pax Islamica, all over the world, and this way peace will come to the world. and wars will cease to exist, because the whole world will be one state, under one caliph, under one Allah, under one Quran, under one Sharia, and peace will come to the world. This is the idea, which is expressed here by this quote. Of course, those who do not like them show this wall in other way, okay? But this, of course, those who oppose them. These are other coins, and these are actually all the coins which they produce: gold, silver, and copper. They don't use paper money, because paper money is an invention of the infidels. Why? As we all know, the paper itself has no value. The value is what the government owes you because you hold this shtar chov, a document of debt from the gold which the government has. Okay, and you can pay by the debt which the government owes you according to the bill which the government gave you. Okay, but the paper itself is nothing. Okay, so they don't believe in such a system, and coins actually have self-value because of the metal, the gold, the silver. They have trucks to supply water or fuel. They have police cars, and the police cars have no numbers, so you don't know who came and who took your son. Okay? And there are these are also police cars, and see, they don't have the license plates. Another one. This is another police car. Now this is a Canadian volunteer to the Islamic State, and he has many clips trying to convince people to come to fight for the jihad. This picture goes around the internet, usually under the caption that the Yazidi girl, related to this, being sold to slavery. I also thought this way, but I was mistaken. This is a still picture from a movie, from a clip, which shows that they actually arranged a contest of memorizing the Quran for children. And this girl memorized part of the Quran, I believe, but when she was standing in front of the people, she got excited, and she she started to cry. And the man who arranged the contest actually comes to calm her down. And later in the movie, she actually stands up and cites what she wanted, and everybody claps. Okay? So they arranged contests of memorizing the Quran. However, they do sell to slavery women. And actually, there is a price list. And this document of the price list, the price of women. And really, first you see it. 75,000 dinar is the price of a woman from the age of 30 to 40, Yazidi or Christian. 75,000 when her age is between 30 and 40. 100,000 a woman who is between 20 and 30, Yazidi or Christian. 150,000 is the price of a woman between 10 and 20. Means the younger you are, or the younger the lady is, the higher is the price. Yazidiyah or Masihiyah means Yazidi or Christian. Only 50,000 is a woman between 40 and 50. Again, Yazidi or Christian. And 200,000 is the price of a woman between 1 year and 9 years. Yazidiyah or this is the price. Now, why the younger the girl is, the higher her price is? Some would say she has longer time to work for you. But the reality is that the chance that she is intact are higher when she is young. So this is the issue, virginity. This is why the younger ones are more expensive. This is the prices. And when those women are being taken to the marketplace, they are very silent. And they know why. Because they see why. Okay? Now look at this sword. It is curved. And curved sword you cannot use in order to stab somebody because it will break. So what is it? What does it serve? Beheading. Like a hack missile. Okay? So they are very silent. And yet, others are also being executed in the street, usually, in order to strike fear into the hearts of the others. They have this publication named Dabik. It was meant to be a monthly publication. I'm not sure that they issue every month one. So far they issued, I think, 19 issues, which is almost one per month, 72 pages, very, very high quality in English. You can download them for free and to read, and they don't hide anything. They don't try to hide anything. They talk about everything. And this is one of the good sources to understand their mindset. They have a TV channel in Ninawa. Now this man belongs to an organ named the Hizbah. Hizbah means the control over the marketplace. And he actually goes from shop to shop to make sure that whatever is being sold, like food, fits what is written. First of all, the weight is what they claim, that they don't cheat in quantity, and he checks the date of expiry. So they don't sell, the merchants are not selling merchandise which is too old. So they are also having control over the market. Now you know what this is. Okay? Now, this picture is particularly nice. This is a policeman who writes a ticket to a guy named Abu Hanzala El-Sham. This is his name. The car, Al-Kafira Salib, Chevrolet, means the infidel, the mother of the cross, in brackets, Chevrolet. Cross. Right? The infidel, the mother of the cross. The money, how much is the fine? 10 golden dinar and 200 silver dirham. The reason for the fine, using the robes of the Muslims. This is the reason, this is the offense. Using the robes. Why? All those who had Chevrolet were ordered to chisel out the logo of Chevrolet because it is a cross and they don't allow crosses. And apparently the owner of this car maybe forgot one of them or didn't hear about this, so he was fined. So this, and of course, don't forget they have a territory. So something which has a territory and finds people and has control over the marketplace and has a TV station and monthly publication, executes people, sells women in the street according to a price list, and arranges contests to memorize the Quran, and has volunteers from all over the world, including Canada, and police cars, and supply cars, and coins, and divided into districts, and has a Sharia law in the marketplace, and has license plates on cars, and social security, and volunteers from all over the world where they have already branches, and as a government with ministers, and issues passport and identity card, and also ambulances. So what is it? Is this an organization or this is a state? Okay? But unfortunately, too many people, especially in the West, keep calling it organization. To a degree that even the BBC, British Broadcast Corporation, calls them the organization which calls itself the Islamic State. Means they don't even give them the fact that they call themselves Islamic State. But the British, no, there's not a state. This is an organization which calls it, okay? This maneuver. And unfortunately, people relate to them as an organization, thinking that if it's an organization, we can get, let's say, bombed here, bombed there, and then the whole thing will disperse. No. A state has to be fought against the state until the last bomb, as we saw in the 1945. Okay? This is how states like this should be treated. Because the ideology is even worse than the Nazi ideology. Because the Nazi ideology had a global hegemony driven by men. This is a global hegemony driven by Allah, which is much more dangerous. And unfortunately, there are states in the world who try to shut their eyes, not to say that this is a state before it is or after it was once an organization. Now, the problem is that this state definitely succeeds to export itself through the media, through the social media, to a degree that individuals in France, as we saw in November, how they killed in one Friday evening some 170 people in the Bataclan nightclub, and the stadium over there, in another restaurant, and in Belgium, and in Marseille, in Nice, with a car, and in San Bernardino, and in Ottawa, and in Orlando, and many other, in Sydney, Australia, and many other places, because people fall in love with this. They see that this is the way how to fight the West. This is the way how to give a good, successful fight against the infidels, against what they do to us all over the world, and the fact that they succeeded to corrupt our societies with the mass media and so forth. And unfortunately, it is very hard to find those who, through the social media, watch all those clips of beheading, and I have here some dozens of them, and many more are in the media or in the internet. So you don't really have to go to a mosque in order to become radicalized. It's enough that you see what is being disseminated through this. So here we are in kind of a war which is in a different nature compared to the First and the Second World War. Definitely it's all over the world, from Australia to Ottawa or to California with San Bernardino. This is a war, okay? And I didn't invent this idea. Already 15 years ago, Ephraim Halevi, the head of the Israeli Mossad, after September 11, said that we are in a third world war. Different in nature, different in pace, different in who is the soldier and who is the victim. Once it was soldiers of states, armies were fighting armies. Today, civilians are fighting civilians. And it's actually a different kind of a war. But if we don't define it as a war, we, as the rabbi said, we are looking at the situation from under the sand. Okay? So we are now talking about something with different definitions. Now, what do we do with this? How can we combat it? If it's everywhere, potentially it's, you know what? Potentially it's here. Somebody can walk in with a machine gun, and because he read somewhere that I'm here speaking, what is the difference between Chabad of Flamingo and the workplace or somewhere else in Orlando or in San Bernardino or somewhere else. So, Chas v'chalila, okay, God forbid. But theoretically, it could be everywhere. Ottawa, okay. And not to mention places in the Middle East, in Turkey, what we see day and night. Germany. No, 2 weeks ago, there were four terrorist attacks within 8 days. Means every other day. A woman, a pregnant woman from Poland was beheaded. A priest in Normandy was beheaded. Okay? And in Munich. And I didn't count all the places. So theoretically, it can be everywhere at any given moment, because we are not going around checking everyone, what he has in his purse, what he has in his bag, whether he has a Kalashnikov or a bomb. We don't know. Because usually people don't check it. Not in the entrance. Okay, in the airplanes, yes, but in the entrance of malls, who check it? Okay, so definitely we have to be, first of all, we have to name a spade a spade. We are at all. Of course, so far it is somewhat low fire, but who can guarantee that this low fire will remain low? So what can be done? So first of all, the first step is to understand that we are at war. We are at a war, different from the other wars of the past. Now we are at a war. It should be defined. Secondly, the laws of war, such a war, should be formulated, because all the laws of wars, which we know from the Geneva Convention and others, were formulated according to the traditional wars between armies, tanks, airplanes, warships, and so forth. And the rules of engagement, which were formulated in the international law, fit those wars. They don't fit this war. So we have to reformulate the rules, how to act and how to defend democracies, so they will not be prey to these people who can emigrate, who can come almost freely from wherever they come. And it's very hard to find who plans to carry out a terrorist attack or who doesn't, because usually they don't admit that that's what they come from. But the third issue is actually to rephrase, I would say, the rules of democracies. What do I mean? One of the rules of democracy is that every citizen should be allowed to go back to his country. Okay? A Canadian citizen who goes to any country in the world, whenever he shows up here, he should be given the right to re-enter or to come back to Canada. After all, he is a citizen. Okay? Israel formulated the law in a way which allows it to keep those people out by changing the law and saying that whoever is suspected to be there is not a citizen anymore. Means that Israel protects the citizens of Israel from jihadists who took a course how to behead people and how to kill people in places like the Islamic State, and Israel protects its citizens from them. Apparently France did not do it, and some 10% of these thousands who came from France to the Islamic State went back to France in order to be what? Lawyers? Accountants? Media people? Doctors? Okay? Why? Why should they have the right to come back to after they spend some time there? Now, what happens in Israel, if somebody comes and he proves that the last 3 years he spent in Toronto or somewhere else, not in the Islamic State, his citizenship is given back to him with a flower and an apology. But so far, it didn't happen. all those the state knows that they are there remain somewhere else, Turkey or other place which accept it. So what I mean to say that the rules of the game, of the democratic game, should fit this kind of war. Look, in Israel, we have 20% of our population Muslims. Nobody is expelled because of his ideas. Nobody is sent out. Nobody is okay. If somebody is inciting to terror or to violence, he's put in jail because this is how we treat those who incite in every country. But if he goes out to the Islamic State, we don't put him in jail. He just stays outside. Okay? This is what I mean by changing the law or fitting the law in a way which it will fit the kind of war which we are in. Okay, this is only one little example. And I ask, why should France or Britain or any other country allow those people to come back? And look at what happened in France. Because those who performed the attack in November, in that Friday night in Paris, not only that they went to the Islamic State, they left behind them a movie, which is like 30 minutes. Every one of those 7 heroes is standing in front of the camera with open face and gives a whole speech to the French why he hates them. And at the end of his speech, he beheads somebody. 7 people. The Islamic State aired this clip or this movie after those 7 got killed in France. So now nothing can be done to them. So they definitely they came back to France and they say that we are going back to France in order to do this to you guys, our friends or whatever. Okay? So and here I am asking again, why the heck should this kind of people be allowed to come back to France after they go to the Islamic State? And I do have a reason to believe that the French authorities know everyone or almost everyone who goes to the Islamic State. They know it in all kinds of ways. So, again, I don't think that they should be given the right to come back. In order what? To kill other people? Is this moral? To allow these people to kill our citizens? Those who go to nightclubs or to stadiums? This is immoral before it is anything else. Not to mention illogical, but definitely immoral. So states should start protecting their citizens for such people, especially if they know that they went to the Islamic State. Now you need to cooperate, because unfortunately what happens in Europe at least is that the police organizations do not cooperate. They don't exchange information. And look, even the ways which they write the names in Arabic, they don't have any standard. Muhammad, only the name Muhammad, can be written in like 6 or 7 forms. So the computer cannot find if, let's say, there is someone in Brussels who they suspect that he is a terrorist, and they bring the name to the French, but they spell it in a different way in France. They cannot locate it because it goes according to the spelling of the name. So why isn't there a united form of spelling names of Arabs? Okay, it's kind of a device to anything. So the game should change in order to make it fitting better the situation which every one of those Muslims, as far as could be, from saying that all the Muslims are terrorists, but those radical Muslims who fall in love with the Islamic State to a degree that they are willing to carry out what they see in the clips, shouldn't they be located? Shouldn't they be caught? Shouldn't there be any device which allows those governments to really deal with it. And this is unfortunately the situation in Europe. And I do not know what happens between Canada and the United States, for example, or between us, because these things are behind the scenes. And good that these things are behind the scenes. Why should they, the enemy in this war, know what is being done between organizations? So it's okay. But definitely, governments have to start changing. However, unfortunately, some governments, in the West, in Europe especially, are governed by political correctness, are acting according to rules of multiculturalism, and the human rights became a religion to a degree that you don't check who comes to you, and because he has the right. Now here I want to relate especially to the word refugees. To the word refugees. Refugee, according to the definition of the international law, is somebody who runs away to your country from a place where he is threatened and that he might die. Okay. Most of those who came to Europe did not come from Syria, even the Syrian refugees. They came from Turkey. Why should they be considered refugees? They came from normal country, Turkey. Turkey is not a war zone. Why should they move from Turkey to other countries? Not only this, Turkey is a state which is responsible to what happens in Syria way much more than any European country. Because Turkey was the gateway for all those jihadists who came from all over the world to the Islamic State. So why shouldn't Turkey take over? If Turkey caused these atrocities in Syria, why shouldn't Turkey host them, feed them, build houses for them, and keep them? After all, Turkey was at least partially responsible for the atrocities in Syria. Not only this, how many refugees did Saudi Arabia take? And Saudi Arabia also poured money on the Islamic State. You know how many? 0. How many Iran took? And Iran definitely is responsible for what happens there, because Iran is the state which supports Assad, who keeps killing his people. Ladies and gentlemen, I saw recently a number of estimated people who got killed in Syria, 470,000. So who is responsible for this? Turkey, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, and the Assad regime. And of course, Hezbollah in Lebanon. How many refugees did Qatar and Kuwait and others too? Okay? Not only this. One day, the Kuwaiti Minister of Foreign Affairs, I think it was like a year ago, when the waves of refugees came from Turkey to Europe, and many of them drowned in the Mediterranean, and these pictures of this unfortunate kid was found in the seashore. All these atrocities were almost in live broadcast. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Kuwait was asked somewhere in the world, why wouldn't Kuwait take refugees to Kuwait? So he said that these refugees have different culture from Kuwait. We cannot take them. So, what? France is the same culture? Or Canada? Or the United States? Okay, Kuwait is not the same culture. So we cannot take them. This is how the man, from whose country money came to Iraq, to Iraq and Syria. This is how we can. They are from different culture. Okay? And the world buys it. In my view, much better solution for the refugee problem was if the world said, or must have said, to Turkey, one more refugee come to our shores, we are flattening Ankara. This would be the end. because all those refugees would find safe haven in Turkey. Because the Turks would understand that the game cannot continue. Later they had the agreement with Europe, $15 billion. They blackmailed from the Europeans, and they continued to send refugees. They had the money, and the refugees also they sent it. Iran got a year ago a tremendous deal with the nuclear weapons, which enables Iran to acquire nuclear weapons at least in 14 years from today. Why? Why nobody said to Iran, hey guys, you want the deal? You are responsible for what happens in Syria? You take million refugees. Why? Because we want you to. Otherwise, no deal. Would they take it? Sure they would take it. Because they needed the deal, they needed the money, which the world gives them now in billions. Only 2 days ago, we started that already in January, they got 30 billion, I think, dollars, already in January. Now it was a bit. Why? Nobody thought to tell them, guys, you want a deal? Okay, how many refugees do you take? After all, you are responsible for what happened in Syria. Way much more than France, Belgium, Holland, Canada, and United States. Where is the world? So this is what I'm saying. People don't think. People react as if the fact that the refugees come from Turkey to all of the world is a divine order, force majeure. Not at all. But the world acts like invertebrates in front of wrong states like Iran and others in the Middle East, which pour oil on the fire in Syria. And this way, they go along with the refugees, poor refugees. They are poor refugees because of the behavior of states in Europe and other countries, which did not force the Turks to stop supporting the Islamic State, stop buying oil from them, stop being the gateway for all the jihadists to... Now, why did the world behave in such a way vis-a-vis Turkey? Because NATO is afraid that Erdogan will get angry and will send out the Incirlik air base from Turkey. Actually, this is what he's doing these days, because he cut the electricity to Incirlik, as you might know, a few days ago, and he has a siege over Incirlik because he suspects that the people in Incirlik, especially the Americans, took part in the coup d'etat, which almost was their intent. Okay, so if the world was not so shaking and shivering in front of Erdogan, because what he can do to Incirlik means kick out the Americans and others from Incirlik, they could talk to him in a better way. But everyone is afraid of him, because he's impulsive, he is unexpected, he is vociferous in the way he behaves. So everybody steps aside. Let's send the refugee, which he sends to us by his decision. Okay, so this is, in my view, if I sum the last 2 years when the Islamic State, this is a threat to the world. First of all, by organizations which already declared allegiance to this Islamic State, Boko Haram and many others also in the list, by individuals who sympathize with the Islamic State and the methods of the 7th century, which they employ in order to bring back the world to the 7th century when Islam took over almost the whole world which was known in those days, and by sending refugees all over the world, which nobody can know exactly who is a jihadist or who is not. And here I must make another comment. Usually, real refugees, those who really run away from the atrocities, the generation which comes usually thank the host countries tremendously for the food, for the shelter, for the health, for everything which they were given, and they will kiss the ground every day and every night twice. The problems usually start with the second generation. Those who grew up on the idea that everyone is equal, because they went to the local school system. But when they become 18, 19, 20, they see that it's not so correct, because there are those who equal more, those who equal less. Then, actually, that's what we see in Europe, and we can already see 2 generations in Europe and to analyze what happens. Usually the radicalization happens in the second generation. Not that the first generation will never be. Definitely we saw in Germany, one of the refugees, Syrian refugees, beheaded this Polish woman. He is a refugee himself. But usually what the accumulated experience with Europe is that the second generation is the problem. Another problem in Europe is the enclaves. Because those people with enclave tend to live near each other. And others leave those neighborhoods because they don't like to live so close to them. And this way you have already in France, in Germany, and zones which the police do not enter. Why? Because of the violence, because of this. The culture in these places is the culture of other countries in the world. They don't mingle with the population, they don't become Europeans, and these enclaves become hubs of incitement, anti-Europeanism, anti-Westernism, and at the end of the day, some fall into this jihadism. And again, I'm not claiming that all of them are jihadists, but it's very hard to know who is yes and who is no. And even if 1 of 1,000 becomes a jihadist, you know how millions there are in Europe? So even 1 of 1,000 comes out very much. So this is the problem. You maybe know today what happens to them. Do you know what happens tomorrow? When they start to be radicalized, or the second generation become radicalized, you cannot predict what will be in the future. And the process of radicalization definitely happens, especially in the diaspora, because of the reasons connected to the environment. And the enclaves actually are places which the culture is preserved. And I would like to finish with a story. I have a friend, a colleague, who ran away, he left Algeria in the beginning of the 80s, like 35 years ago. He didn't want to be Muslim, he didn't want to be an Arab. He went to France and he became French totally, eats pork, drinks wine, and couldn't care less about Islam, about Arab. Definitely became French all the way. By the way, many of the Muslims who emigrated to France became totally French, including the Minister of Justice under Sarkozy, a lady who was, her name was Rachida Dati. She was born to a Moroccan family in France, and she is a brilliant lawyer, and Sarkozy nominated her to be the Minister of Justice. And everybody blessed him for this because she's a great lawyer and she was a very good minister. She was unmarried, and all of a sudden she became pregnant. Now, in Islam, as you might know, a lady without marriage who becomes pregnant is actually performs adultery, according to the Sharia, and her fate is one. Okay? To be stopped. But she couldn't care less, because she was totally French. And in France, you know, you don't ask these questions, not your business.